And welcome back, my lovely ladies. We will talk this week about 5 things you should never say to your husband. What inspired this video for me was basically my early married life, but also sometimes now I catch myself saying things mostly out of ignorance because I don't completely understand how a man thinks. But I've learned a lot over the years, so I thought I would share with you what I found and what might help you avoid those mistakes in the first place, especially avoid making them an entrenched way of relating to your husband, because that is the most damaging and will have the worst effects on your marriage. So this particular topic is really a lesson in contentment. The Lord encourages us as believers to find godliness with contentment. That is really foundational to being a blessing to your husband. I know people make a lot of fun about how men have these sensitive egos and they always want to be patted on the back and applauded, but in reality, we have to accept and face the fact that God has made men with a code of honor. And that code of honor isn't just something we humans came up with. It's something God put in men, and we need to respect that. And that is why this particular topic is very important and fundamental to your husband's well-being. If you don't respect his code of honor, you are going to subtly chip away at his confidence and basically the quality of your married life, and you will also be unhappy. So what is this code of honor before we dive into the exact things we should not say to our husbands? It's basically a groundwork of integrity, and for a man it is a very essential part of his manhood, from what I've learned and observed being married, that if you in any way suggest his integrity is flawed, you are suggesting that he's not as much of a man as you would like him to be. And I know I'm not saying you cannot recognize his faults, or that you must think he's perfect, or that he has no sin. Obviously not. That is not at all what I'm saying. I'm talking about respecting him, and that is respecting and understanding what is important to him. And it's important to him that you see him as a man of honor, and you see him as a man of his word, a man who makes good decisions, a man who is confident, a man who can stand on his own 2 feet, and a man who doesn't need to be mothered and pampered. Basically, a man who is endowed with what is required to lead you, to lead his family, to establish a business or whatever it is he's going to be doing with his life. You need to trust and respect that he is able to do that. And once you have that concept down, you believe that in your heart, a lot of things to do with submission will come naturally to you, and you won't catch yourself saying the wrong things to him. So point number 1 is never suggest to your husband how he could have done better in a particular situation in the past. Don't tell him or microanalyze the way he did something or the decision he made, or point out to him how he was wrong in what he did or said. First of all, it's in the past. Secondly, but most importantly, you have shown that you have a critical attitude towards him, and that is just not loving. When I talk about being loving to your husband, it's respecting his manhood. That is the most loving thing you can do to your husband. The second thing you should never say to your husband is something admiring of another man that you find especially attractive, especially if it highlights a weakness in your husband. If you feel, I don't know, your husband isn't big and strong enough, and you see another man who is, and you point that out and you go on and on about how much you like it, that is extremely demoralizing to your husband. Don't do that. Whatever it is that you might think, oh, if I suggest this to my husband, maybe it will inspire him. No, it's not going to do that at all. And besides, it's cultivating a heart of discontent in you, and it's really damaging to your husband, and it's not going to encourage him to imitate that man. Thirdly, never suggest that his work or occupation is meaningless or boring or insignificant. That is extremely insulting to a man. A man identifies very strongly with what he is doing in terms of his career. And I know a lot of men are not actually doing what they would love to be doing. Maybe they're doing something just to earn money because that is the most important thing at the time. And they can't pursue what they genuinely wish to be doing. But even so, it is not for you to belittle what he is currently doing, because he has to devote most of his days, most of his hours to his craft. He's going to need all the encouragement. I mean, especially if he's not particularly vested in what he's doing, he's going to need all the encouragement he can get from you to believe in what he's doing, to be inspired and to keep going, because it's a long road and it can get very discouraging doing the same thing every day or whatever it is he does do. There are going to be challenges and he needs your support. A great way to support him is just simply to believe that what he's doing is important. Truly, every single career out there is important. Nowadays, there are certain categories of career that are considered elite and illustrious and desirable, and then everyone else is just kind of plebs who don't get a taste of the glory. But you shouldn't see your husband that way. And on a practical level, every single job is important. If you struggle to see that, you can pray about it and ask the Lord to show you the beauty and the importance of what your husband does. Number 4, you should never express dissatisfaction with your husband's income or how little money you have. If you feel that you don't have enough, you should never express that you wish you had more spending money. You should never express envious thoughts about someone else's wife who has more money to spend. These things are incredibly demoralizing to a man. He needs to know that you are content with what he can provide. And men do have an underlying drive to always do better. So it's not for you to push him in that. If you are encouraging him and being kind and grateful for what he does, he will naturally develop a stronger drive to do more, take on more, if that is what his vision is for his home and his life. So never express dissatisfaction. There are times where it's hard, you don't have money to spend on yourself, or it's like really tight and you hardly have money for food. But you should never express dissatisfaction or discontent about it or complain. Instead, try to bring light and hope and optimism into the situation if it's particularly hard, because he is already struggling with the weight of having to provide. And you can be sure, even if he's not telling you this, it weighs very heavily on him if he feels he's not providing enough. And lastly, you should never suggest or vocalize to your husband that you wished you lived somewhere else, or that your living conditions were different, or that you led an entirely different kind of life altogether. That is painful for a man to hear, because of how hard he has to work to just maintain what is currently being done and where he's currently at. And of course, I do understand that some couples share a vision for something different to what they are currently doing, and their plan and their mission is to get out of that situation so they can start a new kind of life together. That is all perfectly good and healthy, but I'm referring to a situation where the husband is grinding away to provide and the wife is dissatisfied with the neighborhood or the house or the kind of life that she has. She wished she was a different person, or that she lived in a different town, or had a different kind of lifestyle. That is just another form of discontent, and it is so important. If this is the situation you're in and there are no other plans, or currently no vision for a change, that you need to embrace it, and you need to become that person who supports your husband. You need to embrace what he is expecting of you and what the situation is requiring of you. That is being a truly supportive and loving wife. And you don't need to worry about all the mantras you hear today about finding yourself and expressing yourself and living your best life. Those are such satanic ideas. They do not come from God. You can look in the Bible. There's nothing about that there. It talks all about being loving, provoking one another to good works, being content with the things that we have, being faithful, not looking. It says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. That will be you if you are half committed to your current life but also desirous of something else, and you are not sharing the same mind as your husband. So I hope that makes sense, and maybe some of these points spoke to you, but these are very good groundwork rules to bear in mind, especially in helping you to understand the male ego and just to respect those sensitivities, because it's not something to be made light of. It's something that's going to be the foundation of the well-being of your home, and you're going to be relying on this man. God has given this man to you to love and honor and respect. So I hope this gives you some insight and has blessed you in some way. If it has and you enjoy my channel, you can like the video and leave some comments down below, any thoughts that you have, and subscribe as well and become part of the Dungaree family. I also write regularly on my blog, dustydungarees.com, dustydungareesblog.com, usually every Thursday, so you can find an interesting article there, usually more intimate or personal topics where us ladies can be a bit more vulnerable and share our struggles and triumphs in the Lord. So until next week, go well and God bless. Bye bye.